If dysphoria or motivation is making it difficult to practice achieving a passable female voice, then this video is for you. To do that, we need to cover some incredibly important abstract topics that can literally make or break whether or not you succeed. In other words, this video is not about the technical aspects of training. Instead, if you're lost or you're about to start, this is here to help. First, we need to address that motivation is a lie. Second, we need to know how to push past vocal dysphoria. And third, we need a workflow that can be a tool that guides us to victory. So starting with motivation. Motivation is an idea that people put a lot of emphasis in our day-to-day life, and that's actually a crippling error. See, motivation is an emotional response to an exciting idea. It's when the happy chemicals in your brain go burr to something that you want in that given moment. But have you at some point felt this excitement, sat down in your chair, and achieved nothing with that initial burst of energy? Voice training can be so intimidating, especially because of dysphoria and the technical aspects that you just won't understand right away. The initial burst of happy chemicals aren't going to last long in front of that, which is why waiting for motivation is such a fallacy. Well, this is where discipline comes in. Discipline is a smelly word to most people. It usually has negative connotations like being disciplined for doing something silly, but discipline is literally the only thing that will allow you to have a truly rewarding life. And simply put, discipline is just the ability to stay on path to something that you want despite adversity. So now that that's out of the way, how do we take discipline and utilize it in a way that's going to benefit us when actually voice training? First, do not look at the entire picture and instead start with learning to achieve one thing. Usually what I recommend to learn first is how to raise the larynx. Only when you notice you have achieved the ability to raise it for at least a few seconds should you worry about moving on into the next step of the tutorial I made on this channel. When you do master that first step, you'll see it gives you the courage to move on to the next, and better yet, now one variable of this complicated task is now already achieved. But what happens when you do take that next step and you're immediately lost once again? Simply isolate one part of that video, hone in on that, and fail again and again, because as long as you continue to chip away at it, you will get that success that you need. Basically, the most difficult step is always going to be the first, but once you have that under your belt, it's going to get easier and easier and easier to repeat in the future. Right, now, getting past the dysphoria. Dysphoria is likely the main reason most people don't practice. Literally, no one likes hearing their own voice played back to them through a recording. You pair that with dysphoria and you're in for a rough ride. Well, here's a few things that can help. You already know taking breaks for your muscles is incredibly important, but it's also important for your mental health. During a mental health break, remind yourself that this isn't what your voice is. Your voice is on the other side, and unless you push through, the pain you feel now will have been for nothing. It's also just not fair to judge a product until it is complete. Like, you don't go up to a chef who's cooking bread and say that bread has turned out horrible when it's still dough. And if you're thinking, what if the flour is wrong? What if I'm the problem? First of all, I called you out. 4K caught you. The truth is, you're not. It doesn't matter how deep your voice is, you can still achieve a passable female voice. That's just a fact. It might be a passing female voice that sounds matured, but many women have voices in these lower ranges, and that's totally fine. And I realize this is much easier said than done. When you're actually practicing, it can be emotionally dreadful. But once you get that 1 inch where your voice sounds notably higher, not even passable, just a step to it, suddenly all of that pain melts away. Does it mean it ceases to be difficult? Heck no. But it does become easier each step of the way. Just a quick PS, something that can help you is using VR chat. I would train in an avatar I related with, and it made it so much easier to fail over and over again. Also, knowing I could talk to people and be seen as well as heard the way I've wanted to my entire life was just one more reason to not give up. We've covered the incredibly important abstract part of this video, so now let's give you a workflow that can help you achieve your goal. All of this brings us to one final question. Where do I start? If you have yet to master individual components like raising the larynx, start there. And when you do have an understanding of each individual component and you want to bring them together, this is what you should do. 1. Have a voice training video up and ready to review when needed. 2. Have a video with someone's voice you plan to imitate. And 3. You have a recording software to record your voice. Something that you'll likely love to hear is that when you're practicing one component at a time, you really don't need to record your voice. Record your voice when you're experimenting the combination of of each step while increasing and decreasing intensities to see what works and what doesn't. A really good example of this is a lot of people think that more is better, so they'll hyperextend muscles and bring their larynx up way too high, basically suffocating themselves. This is where you want to play with lowering a little bit. Or maybe you're not raising it enough and you need to experiment with raising it a little bit higher. Same goes for mouth space, same goes for the other components I mentioned in the voice training video linked at the end of this one. Also, when you're experimenting the combination of these different aspects, be sure that you're imitating a good female voice to reference. Don't go for a high voice. Instead, aim for a mid to low range voice to start. When you do finally start to get progress and sound more feminine with your voice, you'll likely only be able to do so for about a sentence at most. Whatever that sentence is, you master that sentence. You don't worry about anything else. You just keep recording that sentence over and over and over again while saving the best sound samples. Saving those sound samples is a great reference point. If you ever get lost, you can imitate your own voice and be right back on track. And the reason why practicing one sentence is so useful is because it masters muscle memory much quicker than if you did the entire alphabet. And once that one sentence does sound better, you can use that as a starting point to say other sentences or say the entire alphabet to get the entire scope of your dialect. Feel free to leave any questions you have in the comments and I will try to get to them in my side channel. A huge sloppy thank you to all of my YouTube members and my Patreon members that makes this content possible. And a huge sloppy thank you for watching this video. I hope it helped you out, and until next time, bye!